I am so excited to be back with another artist series interview on Coffee with Carlia. Today we have a phenomenal artist, songwriter, a creative. Please welcome Moody. Hi, Moody.
Hey everybody, my name is Moody. Very nice to meet y'all. Thank you so much, Carlia, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's all my pleasure. I'm so glad that you're here. So first things first, I want you to take me back and tell me, how did you get your start in music?
That's a really good question. I think it was in high school, especially. Like I was really into like poems and spoken word and just like rap in general. And so for the longest, I just had this like itch of like immediately write down bars after bars after bars. I would just have this like feeling of like I really want to create something new. I want to make something where like when someone listens to it, they really feel it. They really feel what I'm trying to say, even if in the beginning it's not as well put together. It's like the feeling is still there, And so I guess like over time, I just always had this like itch of like just creating, and yeah, I feel like right now it's at a point where I feel like every word just reflects, how I feel or what I want to say out loud.
Well, I love that. I think that's so important as artists to kind of have a mission, to have a message in the music, to have it be reflective of who you are as a person. But you said in high school you were interested in spoken word and things like that. So, who were some of those early influences?
Yeah, it was like I'm not. I mean, there was definitely spoken word, but it was definitely just like more like lyrical type of way. So like definitely like Kendrick, Logic, Gambino, um, Cole. Like just I think there was the classics of that like up there too, but then there was also like Mac Miller, there's Earl Sweatshirt, there's Tyler the Creator, like that there was so many different layers of music. But I think rap at the time was like it just made sense in my ear. Like it was like the exact rhythm and the word play and the word count they did, and I was like, oh, this is I love this. Like I love dissecting music very very much. Um, so yeah, those are like my earliest influences, and it just made me want to pursue creations more.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because those are like the rappers that really have messages in their music. They're really saying something to the public. So you mentioned Kendrick, you mentioned J. Cole. How do you feel
I
about this?
did.
How do you feel about this rap beef going on?
The rap beef, man, it's honestly so crazy to see because to me, at first, I was like, oh, this is going to be just, playful banter, right? And the way that it switched up so quick and so intense, I well, for one, I'm a hip hop fanatic. So like when I'm listening to the disses, I'm like listening to like what beat choice did they do, who produced it, or like what are they saying, or like what because the beef was been there for like almost a decade, or pretty much like a decade. And so it was like I think it was like a refreshment of like people going into hip hop and being like, oh my god, what's going on? And also just noticing like, hey, celebrities are not like you shouldn't praise celebrities in general. Yeah.
That's true.
What
It
do you
did
what do you think of it?
um, stop the violence. That's number one.
Stop the
Um,
violence. Okay. Fair,
no,
fair.
but I'm not like a hip hop head or anything, but I do enjoy hip
Hmm.
hop. So I do think it's exciting. Like it's a part of the genre. Like to see who can outward play the other, who can have the best punchline. So I do think like that creative aspect of having these rap beefs is really exciting. Long as it just stays on the record, you know, yeah.
Yeah, like actual violence, like I don't condone that, but I am always for like two people just going head to head, being like, I'm the better rapper. Like I love that. Like it's like yes, like test each other's like penmanship. But yeah, it's definitely to me it's very historical, just in terms of like what's considered top three,
Mhm.
who's your top three now. Like the discussions of music and hip hop are a lot more different now. So I mean, and plus we're not even halfway through the year, so who knows? Who knows what might happen?
J.
Yeah,
Cole might make a comeback. Who knows?
he might. From what it looks like, he's chilling. He's relaxing. He's taking his time. He's living life. I love that for him.
Me too. I did. I like that too. So back to you, Moody. You have a
Yeah.
lot of streams. You have a lot of streams on Spotify. I think one of your songs has 100K streams. So what would you say is like the role of social media in your music?
Yeah, like it like I think I got a really big interest in social media when I was in high school, especially. Like I saw how people were interacting with each other, so I got really into the idea of like human behavior. And so like the more and more I studied it, the more I was also really getting into music. And so I think just after like years of like trial and error of like how can I guess attain like a community of people where like we're all like interacting with each other, we're all cool with each other, you know what I'm saying, like that type of time. It took years of just like trial and error, and I think eventually something just resonated. I don't know when it happened. Like I really wish I could tell you like this was the moment where like everything changed for my life. I have no idea. It was like because I never want people to think that like it's like, oh, this just happened. Like I've been making music since I was like 14 and I'm 25 now. So like and I didn't start getting any type of I guess like real attention in my eyes until I was like maybe 23. You know what I'm saying? Or like 22 possibly, but like to me like 23. So yeah, it was just really just seeing who connects, you know, connects with your art and your creations, and then afterwards you're able to have a discussion, you know, rather than it just be like, hey, thanks for streaming, bye. And just leaving it alone. It's like you're able to articulate like, hey, this is what I meant by the song, you know, this is the backstory, like where did you come from, and even if you may not have a discussion with them ever again, it's just the fact that you were able to talk to someone about what you just made. Like that's kind of crazy to me. So I've always personally I've always loved doing that.
I think you touched on really like two important things. You talked about having a community. I think a lot of people are like, "Oh, I want fans," but being able to have people that interact with each other, that interact with you, you can share your story, they can share their stories. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. I feel like when you cultivate it that way. And also, you talked about how you started at 14, so people think like, "Oh, this is an overnight success." I get my viral video. That's going to be it. That's all I need, but it really takes like it takes that those years of dedication to really see the fruits of your effort. I love all of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's honestly like I think people should like take more into account the idea of like what it means to be like I guess like proud and successful of your work, because I personally still feel like the kid where like I would go to the studio, do a rough draft mix. I'm super excited. I listen to it in the car for like 20 times. Then I go back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to upload this and it's going to come out on SoundCloud on this day. You know, like I love doing stuff like that. But no, yeah, community is so important because it's like, yeah, fame is cool. Like I get it. I get the idea of it. It's like thousands of people are praising you, whatever. But that's also a lot of pressure. So it's like, why not just keep it at a regular level? But yeah.
I love that. So I read and I've listened. So a lot of your music is about mental health, living a holistic lifestyle. So how did that approach develop in your music?
Yeah, I think like the earlier years of my music, it was a lot more just shooting an arrow in the dark. Like I didn't really have a style. It was just like this is how I feel, so I'm just gonna put it on record. I don't really know the way to, formulate it or structure it the way I would want to. And I think it wasn't until I got to Mason where I feel like I was being questioned a lot internally of like, how do I want to go about my life? As well as like how do I want to present myself when I'm with people, right? And like we all have different sides of ourselves, no one's just one thing, we're all multifaceted. But I guess for on my end, I was like, how can I show up the best way possible in all ends? So even if like it's a new craft or a new area for me, I can still be the same person. I don't have to change or whatever. And so it was a lot of just times of like dealing with like anxiety or like, wondering if people like you type of thing, or um just, yeah, I guess like figuring out what works out for you. But eventually something changed with the music where I wanted to just be more personal. I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to uh emotionally be able to articulate how I feel, because I don't talk much. Like, not like, this is probably like I've been trying to talk more. Trying to be out more outside my shell, but like yeah, like I find a lot more comfort in being able to write down the exact word and the exact flow, and because then I can just say a story and I'm like, yeah, it's just a story, but it's like, this is this is how I feel. But yeah.
Yeah, it feels like I know college is just such a pivotal moment in our lives where we're kind of like at a crossroads. Like we're not who we used to be. We're not under our parents' households exactly anymore. So really just trying to like, it brings out a lot of emotion trying to figure out like where do I fit in the world? What difference can I make? And so I feel like a lot of my music was kind of like that. I wrote most of it after college, but
Mm.
just kind of sitting with those experiences of like for the first time in my life I have to make my own decisions about who I am as a person, and then you kind of deal with the repercussions of that when it doesn't work out, and like how do you deal with all of that mentally is kind of, it's funny, the challenges kind of bring out the best music.
It does. Like, I honestly, there's times where like I'll think about my experiences at Mason or in college, and sometimes I'll credit it to, oh my god, it was so stressful. There was so much going on, stuff like that. But really, I would say it tested my limits of like who I thought I was when I entered college versus when I left, right? Because like you said, there's new experiences, new moments where you're kind of faced with the responsibility of whatever decisions you want to do, whether it be like emotional, it can be mental, all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, I also see it as like a stepping ground of like you said, creating music or art that comes from your emotions, you know what I'm saying, or things that's going on.
I love it. It's true. It's true. So what would you say is the role of spirituality in your music or your creative process?
So much, so much. Oh wow, deja vu. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even trying to like make a moment. Like, I just had deja vu just right now, because I had a conversation with somebody, and they were asking me like, what's the way that you go about writing your music? Like, what's your music process like? And I had to sit there and think about it, because I don't really have, like, I don't really necessarily have a process. But one thing I did notice, because you mentioned the spirituality, is I noticed the times where the music felt like silk in terms of like how the lyrics would lay out, was usually because I left a room for God. Like, God is
Mm,
in the room, you know what I'm saying? Like, listening to the sound I want, or the thoughts or the ideas, and then being able to put it on paper. Like, I never ever want to take credit, just 100% that like I did it myself, because there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Even sometimes I'll think back to like some songs, I'm like, how did I even make that? Like, I'm like, so to me, spirituality is a huge, part into it, where like I try not to force things, or if I feel like I'm forcing it, then I step away. Or I notice how like, even making things, how spiritual it is. Like, even let's say outside of music, if you're trying to make a sword, right? And it sounds crazy, but you're trying to make a sword, you have to get all the raw minerals and then like put it into the furnace and do these things in this method. And it's like, if you don't have a certain type of patience, or if you don't have a certain type of edge, or what, it'll break. And so it's like, it's really an art process. So like, yeah, I would say it's a huge aspect of my life.
yeah, I would say that for myself too. And I think creativity is just like such an amazing spiritual process because, like, whatever you're thinking about, whatever is in your mind, it doesn't exist like at that moment. It's
Mm,
like God downloads the vision into only your mind. And so when you think about that, like, you're a vessel for bringing whatever that creative thing is to life. So, and then I also think like spirituality for me, it takes the pressure off. Like sometimes we can be hard on ourselves. We're like, I need to write a better song. I need to perform better. I need to do this and I need to do that. But when I remember, like, what do I do this for? Who do I do this for? Who gave me the gift to do it? It takes away all of those pressures.
Absolutely. Like especially that pressure we talked about earlier with like having to like perform or having to, show up in these certain ways to be at a certain level when it's like the baseline of it was just to create and the fact that people can feel the creation, then like you did the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, you did what you were supposed to do.
That's it. That's it. So you kind of talked about this a little bit. You said you don't really have a process, but so when you have so what? How do you go about it? Like a song like Hope or Take Your Project
Mm,
Ascension? Like how do you go?
attention. Yeah, it's
Do you write?
usually
Do you write
no.
first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Do you write first? Do you get a beat first? Like what's that? What's that like?
No, yeah, that's a really great question. Like, I think a lot of times it's just like making moments. Like anytime, and it's funny because I recently went to my friend's house and it was like a bunch of us, like five or six of us, and they're like, "Yo, Moody, you have to record." And in my head, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna say or whatever. And it was so much fun though because it was like it was free flowing. But like you said, I guess like the process is usually I'll find a beat. That's usually the first thing is I'll try to find a beat that sonically is parallel to what I'm trying to say. Like to every degree, and it sounds like meticulous. It's like why to a specific point, because there's sometimes where like certain notes will make you feel certain things, or like certain time measures, whether it be like a 130 bpm or like a 95, it gives you a different feeling.
Yeah.
And so I always try to make moments where like if I know I hear at least like three different pockets, that's how I'm like, okay, let me start writing something down. And like, even if I don't trust that first idea, eventually that first line or maybe that third line I was thinking about will come back to help me rewrite the first line. So I'll do that, and I'll have just like a bass line just off of like melodies. Like I won't even say words, just like hums. And I look kind of crazy when I'm doing it because I'm just trying to find something that like that matches. And then when I do, it's a lot easier to just like write after that.
Wow, I love the way you talked about that. Kind of like just filling in the blank. The third line might give you the first line. And that mumbling thing, it reminds me a lot of like D'Angelo. So he would do like these sessions with the live band and they would just be like jamming him and the band and he would just mumble some words. And then he would go back and listen and whatever it sounded like, that's what the lyrics would end up being. So whatever the mumbles kind of like sounded like, even remotely, he was like, okay, those are the lyrics. So a lot of his
Yeah.
songs, they really don't have any words. Some of them are still mumbles if you listen closely to. Great, great. So
No, that's honestly that's absolutely very true. It's like the mumbles and stuff, it's perfect because it's like you're it shows that he wasn't like trying like forcefully to like write the words out. It's just whatever sounds good, like whatever word fits, just put it there. And it's like, okay, cool. That's the lyric we're gonna do.
yeah, that's very church of him. Like he grew up in church, and sometimes in church, people aren't they don't know the words, they're not singing any words, but something about like the spirit flowing through that moment is like it connects with the audience. So you
Absolutely.
yeah. So you mentioned a lot of positives, some ways that you kind of go about your process starting out in music. But what would you say are some challenges to being an artist?
Um I think the biggest challenge is believing in your dreams and your efforts even when you don't see any results happening. Like especially when it gets to a point where there's times, let's say you have a certain goal or a certain dream and you can feel like it's so far away. It's like this is not possible for me to do. And it's really about the consistency, like of not even really having to, but more so like wanting to create even in the face of like just an L, like a loss. Like even in the face of like every type of obstacle, you have to just wake up and still be like, okay, cool, but I don't care. Like I'm still gonna try my best again. And sometimes that can be tiring. Just naturally, like if you're gonna shoot 500 shots, right, and at the 450th shot you still miss, like you might just be like, yo, I'm not doing this anymore. But maybe that extra one, actually could have got in. But yeah, so there's always that challenge, as well as maybe personally it's like confidence. It's like having to show up with the words that you spoke on record, right? And then going on stage and then saying those things out loud to people that you don't know, it can be a little weird. It's like, oh, this, I wasn't expecting myself to be this vulnerable. And so it's like, if you don't check yourself, like if you don't have conversations with yourself about how you feel and able to manage your feelings, it's going to be a disaster. So it's like, I think for me, one thing I had a big challenge in was like the confidence to go up and say exactly how I feel and not care, like just not have a care in the world. And so sometimes it would be good, like I wouldn't care, and then there's sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm stressed, but I feel like I'm getting over that hump of just like, just yeah, I'm just gonna do what I want type of thing.
Yeah. That is, it is difficult, especially, yeah, being vulnerable in front of people and wearing like people. I feel like that's one of the hardest things about music, like the people. Like you're kind of like you're not trying to impress the people, but as an artist, when you create something, you do want them to like it. You do want them to connect with it. So always kind of feeling that pressure of like, did they like it? Did I do okay? That's definitely a thing. So, what would you say would be your dream collaboration?
Oh man, dream collaboration with anybody, like
Anybody,
alive or dead, or just alive?
alive or dead?
um I feel like collaborating with Denzel Curry would be super cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Denzel Curry has a really lyrical style, but he's also able to structure his melodies in a way that's a lot more different than other like MCs, that's next to him. Plus his most recent project, I actually have I'm not sure if you can see it right there. Yeah, right there. It's like Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. It's really good, great project. So yeah, working with him, I think that would be astounding. And then after that, I would probably say like The Weekend. I'm not gonna lie, The Weekend. I think that would be super cool.
I can see both of those. I can see it. I can see it. Okay. When people talk about Virginia, they're always talking about like the Virginia Beach area, Timberland, Missy Elliott, Pharrell. But I think a lot of great talent comes from Northern Virginia. I mean, every time I look at The Voice, American Idol, there's somebody from Northern Virginia. So, how would you say being from Northern Virginia has affected your music making?
I'm not sure. That's a great question because like I was born in Northern Virginia. You know what I'm saying? I was like born in Fairfax, and then I was raised in Richmond. So like I came back for university, and I saw like how like the style and like the music taste is in Northern Virginia. Like it's very exquisite. Like I love the sounds that come from it, especially like there's a lot of times like on like weekends there was like events like in like maybe like Annandale or like DC where like there's just throwing music events or like DJ mixers, and it was really a lot of fun. But yeah, I can't really say too much because I know for me, like I live in Richmond, so like I know like Richmond sound, what I'm saying, like how that is, because I was like, I grew up in that area.
How would you say Richmond sound affected your music making?
Richmond is like, it's so artsy, like there's so many different styles. Everyone is so head forth about like pursuing their passion and and their creations and stuff. So it kind of just rubs off on you where like you start believing in what you want to do, and you start seeing how different sounds can like intermesh with each other. But yeah, like one thing I've always liked about it is that like no one really sounds like one person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like people all sound different. So it's like an embracing of like uniqueness that I love about Richmond, and I'm always gonna, love about Richmond.
Yeah. I agree about that. I think there's like a lot of different pockets of a lot of different sounds, but people don't really isolate themselves. Like you can see people that kind of participate in the rock and the jazz genre. They might be at an R&B or a soul night, or like I feel like there's a lot of crossover that doesn't really happen in a lot of other places.
No, yeah, like not often do you see like people like rock and hip hop together. Like, I mean, there has been before, but like not as much like here, or like maybe there be like a like more R&B fans at like a country, event type of thing. So it's always everyone's just looking for like new stuff to listen to. So yeah, it's always there.
And then I just thought I think it has a lot to do with like venues and their openness to like include those different genres, because I think sometimes venues are like, oh, we only have this type of music or we only have that type of music. But I feel like in Richmond you can go to a brewery and hear R&B, or you can go, there's various venues where you can hear different kinds of things and attract different audiences. Okay, Moody. What advice what advice would you have for an inspiring artist?
Just don't stop. Like you're not a failure as long as you don't stop. So even in the times where you're like no one's listening to my music, or like this doesn't feel worthwhile, or maybe asking yourself why am I doing this? And that's fine. It's okay to have doubt, but the biggest thing is that like choosing, okay, but am I giving up? Like let's say if you decided to step away from music or creation altogether, like you would never touch another pen, another song ever again. Would you be okay with that? And 9 times out of 10, it's usually no, I wouldn't be okay with that. So it's like, okay, that's okay. That means you're supposed to keep creating. And you can measure what the success is. You can't don't ever allow someone else to tell you that like, oh, you're good. You have to know you're good first, and then it's okay to receive that outside validation. So I would definitely say that for whoever is up and coming and just trying to make it out.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you have to believe you're good first, because you know what? When like if you're looking for outside validation first, when you believe people when they say you're good, that means you have to believe them when they say you're bad.
Yeah, and it's not a good position to be in. It's like they have so much force of how I feel about myself. No, just you like how you make your stuff, right? Cool. That's all good. Everything else is, arbitrary.
True. So besides music or creativity, what are some of your other hobbies?
Oh, I love video games. I love video games. I love video games. I like playing basketball, jump roping. Um, I really like going like on trails, like whether it be like not they're not mountain trails, but just like hiking trails type of thing. Um, I really enjoy oh, like it's like all the time, but like sometimes I'll like go to like a bakery and like get like nice like just fresh out bread. Like it's just really good. Um yeah, so I'm really a homebody in terms of like just interest and such. Like a lot of activities I just usually do by myself, and I find enjoyment in it. And then me being moody, I can be external whenever else I want to. But yeah.
I wasn't expecting bread to be one of your hobbies, but
What is not no not as a hobby, not as a hobby. My bad. I guess as a hobby it could be
no, it was good. Don't change it. Don't change
yeah,
it.
I mean it's an interest. It's an interest for sure. Like I like, baguettes. I like brioche bread. I like no, what is it? A potato bread? Potato bread's pretty good. Yeah.
Wow, a bread connoisseur. Okay, I have some fun rapid fire questions.
Okay, bet.
What was the last piece of art that inspired you,
Like my own or just in general?
just in general?
Oh, why am I blanking on his name? Absol, Do Better, the music video, or just the song itself. Really inspiring.
Okay. What's your favorite thing to splurge on? Might be bread, but
I wish it was bread. My favorite thing to splurge on. It's in between two things. It's in between two things. It's either video games or skincare products, like yeah, or like hair products. Like I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago. I went to like the what is it called? Like the Sally shop. And I was literally there for like 30 minutes. I was like, okay, which conditioner do I need to get? Or like what, uh, shampoo or oil do I need to get? Like, so sometimes like, if I have enough to like spend on myself, I'm like, yeah, let me go there. Or, ooh, go to Marshall's or go to like TJ Maxx. Oh, yo, calling my name. Ross? Come on. Come on. What are we talking about? Yeah.
um, I love that self care is important, and I live by a Marshall, so I'm just like in there all the time because they have name brand stuff and it's really cheap, and people don't know about it.
Very cheap, as well as like pretty affordable shoes too. Like I wear a pair of shoes pretty consistently from Ross, and it was like $35.
See,
Just saying, just
yeah.
saying.
Okay, I don't know if you know this one, but Backstreet Boys or NSYNC.
In sync.
Okay, you do know it. Okay, if you could have dinner with any person, who would it be?
Okay, I'm sorry. I started laughing because I don't know why the first thing immediately in my mind was not Jay Z because of the whole like Jay Z $500,000 thing. Not that I wouldn't actually do that. I think he would be pretty cool. It was just that was the first thing I thought of. No, I feel like I would have a really good conversation with like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh,
Just talk about the world and science and such.
is that another hobby you have? Science and no?
No, I'm really bad at science. That's why I feel like I would have to ask him because I was like, please break it down of why this happens because I don't know anything. Yeah,
That's a good one. So, if you could choose an animal to represent your persona as an artist, what would it be?
a cat, absolutely a cat. Yeah, a black cat to be specific. Like I don't know what it is, or not necessarily just a black cat. I guess cats in general, but like I've always liked like black cats with like a little bit of like lotus like the white fur on them kind of thing. Um, but yeah, like it's just they're very to themselves. They're cool with everybody as long as like you don't like try to like pressure them type of thing. Um, yeah, and also spiritually in a weird way, like if I'm confused about stuff, a cat will pop up or like if I need confirmation about stuff, a cat will pop up. So I've always just ascribed myself to being a cat or a penguin. I would be a cool penguin.
I think you'd be a cool penguin too. So, what's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't think I've ever done karaoke. I just thought about that. I don't think I've ever done karaoke before. But if I did karaoke, I'm trying to think of a rap song I can go bar for bar and I know everything. Mm, I don't know. Maybe like a T Pain. T Pain. What's that song? What's that song? How she get me? I'm
Uh,
sprung. There,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, there we go.
that's a good,
I would do. I'm sprung. Yeah.
that's a good one. So if you were introducing audiences to Moody, what song would you play of
Oh,
yours?
that's easy. I'll give them like a top three. So the first one would be uh Explore. Explore is probably one of my favorite tracks I've made. After Explore, I would say uh either I would say Hope. I really like Hope. And then third, I would say is either Come Through or Mood Swings. they're both pretty equal to me. But I feel like that gives a good explanation of like the kind of music style I make, just giving a full basis of the genre, of itself.
Okay, I love that. Before we play one of those, my
Oh, we're
last
playing one. Oh, okay, cool, cool. I didn't know.
before we get out of here, can you tell the audience where can they keep up with you?
You can keep up with me at Moonchild, Chile, Moody with two Y's. So Moonchild Moody with two Y's on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook. I am dropping a lot more consistent music now. So feel free to tune in and I'll chat with you. You know what I'm saying? Just say what's up.
Come be a part of the Moody community. Do your followers, do your community, do they have a name?
I call them my moon children. Yeah.
I
It's
love it.
just, yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Moody. You dropped a lot of gems today. I feel inspired, ready to create. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure, honestly.
Yay.